much is China an opportunity for Credit Suisse? So the market is opening up for financial services in a couple of months. Does it mean that you'll change your strategy to go heavier on China?
It's a fantastic opportunity for us. We've been working on it for years. This is not new, but we're now stepping up. We have taken the majority of our securities joint venture here. As you know, we founders, we announced that last year. And we have a joint venture with ICBC, which people sometimes forget, but that is the second or third largest asset manager in China. And we are recruiting and investing. We think this is one of the most exciting economies in the world, if you take a medium-term perspective, and we want to play our role.
And this is what, on wealth management?
Mostly wealth management, but really our formula, as you know, is to integrate wealth management and investment banking. You probably saw that we just did the IPO of Alibaba. We were basically the leading Western bank in that. So we work for entrepreneurs. I was just in Shenzhen 10 days ago, and a lot of our clientele is tech entrepreneurs in Shenzhen, in the fastest growing sectors of the Chinese economy, which is really services. It's really healthcare, it's really tech. That's driving the new Chinese economy in the future.
So do Chinese billionaires want to invest differently to other billionaires?
They have different needs. We help them grow their business, like this IPO we just did, but also we help them diversify. The problem of people who have been very successful in business is that generally all their wealth is in one company and it's quite illiquid. So what we help them do is monetize that wealth and then diversify and invest globally, which is a win-win. It's a win for them, and it's a win for the destinations where their investments go.
Well, when you look at your very wealthy clients in Asia, are they impacted by the US-China trade war? Do they invest less? And is that the biggest problem for the economy in 2-3 years?
I think it has a number of impacts. One, it reduces the visibility, so it's more difficult to make long-term investment decisions because of that. On the negative side, on the positive side, it has led to a lot of restructuring of trade flows in Asia. If you look at countries like Vietnam or the Philippines, a lot of our clients have operations already in all those countries. So they can shift production and manufacturing from one country to another. And you've seen a lot of that. So you've seen a growth of kind of intra-China trade as a result of this. But what we all hope for is for a resolution.
But do the supply chains change? So if we have a resolution, maybe even more than something, more than a phase one, let's say, do supply chains come back to China or they stay as they are?
I'm not sure. I worry that some of those changes will be irreversible. Because once you, this is why it's so important that this gets resolved. Because in the end, it affects trust. Trust and belief in the multilateral system, and this is something we all need for the economy, the global economy to grow.
Talking about trust, how do the Hong Kong protests impact your clients in Hong Kong?
So far, we have not seen an impact. I think people are taking a kind of wait-and-see attitude, and I think the central expectation is that this somehow will get resolved. We have not seen big outflows or any significant movement from our clients.
So they're not trying to open offshore accounts, or if Hong Kong as a hub, a financial hub, is hurt, does it automatically go to Singapore or does it go somewhere else?
Well, what we hope is for a positive resolution. I'm not going to speculate on what would happen if things went wrong. We still hope that a positive resolution will be found so that this region of the world, which has been growing very positively, can continue.
I know every time I talk to you about consolidation, every time I also talked about negative rates.
Yes.
Is consolidation going to happen because of negative rates if we have a banking union? Or is consolidation just depending on appetite of chief executives?
No, I think everybody agrees that in theory, consolidation is desirable, would be a good thing. The obstacles to consolidation have always been regulatory and also political nature. Because for those who have done mergers, have done them domestically, when you do cross-border transactions, it's just very complicated to manage politically.
But we're talking about a banking union. If we get a banking union, will it spur chief executive to do cross-border?
It should be a positive factor if we get a banking union. It should be a positive factor for consolidation. But at the end of the day, what we need is growth. This is why a focus on emerging markets is very important. The strategy we're driving of focusing on those entrepreneurs in emerging markets who create wealth and growing there ultimately is the answer. Consolidation and cost cutting is necessary in Europe because we probably have too many banks. But long term, the future of European banks is to win outside Europe.
Are you hiring in emerging markets?
Yes, we are.
In all units?
Almost across the board. We've got lots of dynamism in Brazil, something we're very excited about. The Middle East also is a huge growth area for us. Southeast Asia is huge. China itself is huge. We're hiring everywhere. And I would surprise you also in Switzerland, because we do a lot of offshore business in Switzerland, which is also growing. The division I've called International Wealth Management that I've created is actually based in Switzerland and does a lot of its business in Switzerland, and we've hired more than 100 relationship managers there this year. So the growth is still there.
And for the UK, I know we're in China, but we still need to talk about the UK. We don't know what happens because there's an election December 12th, but I imagine there's no plans of hiring at the moment.
We develop a little bit the wealth management in the UK, but again, it's the offshore activity. London has always been a base for ultra high net worth people in the world. As far as I think you've asked me, I don't know how many times, questions about the evolution in the UK, and I always refuse to answer. I'm very consistent in saying that the political evolution is hard to call and very hard to predict. So we'll see.
What's the one thing that the world economy needs apart from the US-China trade pact? Is there something, I don't know if it's a sign of confidence. It seems the consumer's still holding on. Is the market overpricing?
More coordination. It needs to be clear that the policymakers and the decision makers are working together, because if and when a recession starts, and this will happen at some point, the fact that there is coordination will be vital then. It may not be vital when things are good, but if we enter a negative scenario and policies are diverging and there's a lot of international tension, the downside can be very large. I
know you're about to be on a panel, so I need to let you go in 1 minute. Yes. But the panel will focus on the possible, next recession, on what we learned from the financial crisis. Are we in a better shape now to deal with the next crisis?
We definitely are. The banking sector is much stronger. If you look at it's technical, but the going concern capital, global banks have something like 1.6 trillion now. TARP was 250 billion. To save the whole US system. So you can see that we have accumulated reserves, liquidity is very strong. So,
What about shadow banking?
How much time do we have?
Well, I have time, but you have to go.
No, I have to go. No, look, it's at least the danger is acknowledged. The central banks and the Basel Committee have done a lot of work on shadow banking already. But yes, it's a risk and it needs to be tackled.